Tonight on the Black Channel, Jim Crow Joe Biden is deciding to take a whole bunch of targets on his way out the door. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the entire cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, if you're starting to see a pattern forming, and it's not your eyes playing tricks on you here. And I've been telling you about this for the longest time now. And all they're doing is confirming what I've been saying here all along. So Joe Biden's Justice Department is hard at work. And they are, of course, going after the only folks that he's ever been interested in. And here's where you have to have some maturity. There are going to be some folks who get messed up here, because this is where the crack babies and the lead pipe babies, this is where we gotta stiff arm them, because they do what they usually do. They're slow to the party. They're not very swift on anything. So they'll be the dummies talking about, man, what we care about what's happening with P. Diddy. He shouldn't have been doing whatever it was. If they said he did it, then he didn't. Well, why we got to worry about that right there? So you have to understand the slow bus kids. The slow bus kids are always going to be first to weigh in. They're going to attempt to venture out into giving a profound take on something. And of course, it'll be completely wrong, as usual. When you see these folks targeting somebody here, and you know me, I am no friend of Sean Combs. I'm no friend, absolutely, of Candace Owens. No friend of any of them. But when I see the other people moving a certain way, when I see the other folk out here moving a certain way, I'm not going to sit up here and co-sign it. I am always very clear on who the adversary is, and who the pawns are. Sean Combs is not at the top of any ladder. He's not at the top of any pyramid. He's a pawn in the game. Your job is to be clear and concise and accurate about who's moving the pieces. And when the people in charge of moving the pieces are going in a certain direction, you're supposed to have a reflexive response to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to co-sign anything that they're doing. We're going to dot our I's and cross our T's. So you saw Diddy getting indicted, and then you're seeing Eric Adams, who, remember, just like Diddy, now here's the interesting thing here, folks, just like Diddy, it's been swirling in the air on Adams now for years. They've been letting that go round and round for years now about an indictment. Round and round for years. See, that's what they do with you here. It's a tried and tested strategy. You undermine people's credibility, you attack their character, you demonize them, you start a whispering campaign. Remember, I've always taught you about the 5 steps to Nazi Germany. It is a perpetual strategy that they use. They decide you are the enemy within their homes, when they are safe and secure at their dinner tables, to speak against you, but in private, and that is where everyone gets on code, is at home. Next, they take the at home on code to the street. Now they get everybody else on code in the street. That's the second step when they begin speaking against you outside their homes. Now speaking against you moves to the next step, which is the national communication apparatus, the so-called media. So now the thing that openly broadcasts to everyone, the whispering campaign that started behind closed doors, has now been elevated to the corporate press protected by the Constitution of the United States. So now they speak against you openly. Now they've got their media megaphone amplifying only their message that was crafted at their homes, at their dinner tables, in their studies, on their couches, just theirs. You, the media, is not going to be so quick to pick up anything you say. There's a direct pipeline from the white supremacist home to the white supremacist corporate media, which is practically all the corporate media. And that is what they did with all these folks. You hear them whispering, you hear these rumors swirling for years and years and years. Folks sit around asking, by the way, who's next? Well, I don't know. Take a penny and go out to a random crowd, throw a penny, and who knows? By the way, I've been talking about Mayor Cantrell for a while. They haven't indicted the woman yet. Haven't indicted her for a damn thing. They're doing the exact same thing that they did with Adams. And what they always do here, they started indicting Adams' underlings, investigating underlings, but they already knew who it was they were trying to go after. Mayor Cantrell, what do you know? Anybody and everybody around her has gotten an indictment, just not her. Why? Now you have to understand how it is exactly these things work. For those of you who are not familiar with how it works, when you take a look at cases like, Young Thug and others, it's very simple. They need somebody to flip. So what they're doing is they round up the weaker people. They look at the big fishes at the top, but what they're looking for is somebody to flip on them. So they need to get somebody who is in a secure position, somebody who's got damning evidence, and you want them to flip on them. You want them to turn state's evidence. You want them to become your primary witness. So that's why they're running around and they indict all these folk below the mayor or whoever they're going after. That's why they do that. Because they're building their case, and what they want to do is get somebody to flip and just say, yes, whatever the government's saying is correct. I'm a direct witness. I'm a direct participant. And what the government says is correct. That's the reason they apply the pressure to the underlings. And that's what you're seeing happen with Mayor Adams. I can pretty much guarantee you that by the time this makes it to court, the feds are going to have at least one or two people under him who are going to flip. And that's how they're going to get him. One or two of those other folk that they've already come and picked up, already come and investigated, already come and making charges on, we're going to get them to flip, and then we go grab you. But why? Well, there are a number of reasons. There are a number of reasons that could be involved here. And I've kept my ear to the streets because that's the kind of thing that I have to do here as the anchor man of the new black media here. You keep your eye to the streets here, and there's just something in particular. Just thought that this would be interesting for you all to know. These things do not happen in a vacuum. They don't happen in a vacuum at all. They never do. And you need to be aware of that. So what I want to show you here, because I keep track of these things and I keep a high level overview of these things so that you can stay up to speed and up to code on what's happening. Adams is going down. Adams is going down, and we know that he's going down because just as soon as he was indicted, guess whose name immediately came up? What you see on your screen, that is not a typo. That is not a typo that you see on your screen. That's from Politico. And you can go Google this information right now. Why none other than former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is now looking at running for mayor of New York City. The ink on the indictments isn't even dry. The ink isn't even dry on the indictments. And the former governor of New York State is now making it open that he wants to run for mayor. Adams ain't even, he still got the damn marks on his wrist from the handcuffs. And and Andrew Cuomo's like, let me step over this nigga. The man, Adams hasn't been removed from office. He hasn't been removed from office, people. New York City still has a mayor. And that's not preventing Andrew Cuomo from stepping right in and saying, hey, I heard y'all need a mayor. You think this is accidental? You think this is accidental? You think that there wasn't some collusion between Cuomo and Biden? You think that's not the case? Come on now. These other folks up here, they're trying to get their acts together and whatnot. They need a safe haven for that. So when they go in to yank somebody out, they've got a known quantity they're going to put in their place. Case in point, drunk Uncle Lightfoot. Lori Drunkfoot up there in Chicago. They chase her out. They put Brandon Johnson in. Brandon Johnson has been the absolute worst catastrophe for Chicago in general and black folk in specific that you could humanly imagine. No wonder the Democrat Party was so damned and determined to get him in there. They knew exactly what it was. They always do. Down there in Atlanta, same thing. Detroit, out goes Kwame Kilpatrick, in comes white Mike Duggan. Down there in New Orleans, out went Ray Nagin, in comes white Mitch Landrieu. Houston, Texas, out goes Sylvester Turner, in comes the new white mayor. And by the way, with Sheila Jackson Lee knowing that she's got terminal cancer, Sheila Jackson Lee knew that she had cancer and was still trying to run for mayor of Houston. Think about that for a few moments. She knew she had cancer and still trying to run for mayor of Houston. This is not accidental, especially when you see this pattern of behavior forming. So for those of you who want to know what the end game is in New York, and particularly New York City, okay, I want you all to understand something here. And there's a few things I could show you. There's a few things I could show you here. I got a lot of things I want to tie together. This from the Los Angeles Times. The headline and the story you see on your page, on your paper right now, on your screen right now, is from Los Angeles Times. Big headline. Wow, they're very happy over there, aren't they? With an election looming, the U.S. is approving citizenship applications at the fastest speed in years. Damn! All this happening at the same time? All this happening at the same time. So they've they knocked down the wall to let in as many illegals as they can, and then given citizenship as quickly as they can. Now, we ain't got reparations yet. We don't have reparations, and yet this is what the government policy has been doing. So we can't get our reparations rubber stamped, but rubber stamping the illegals and whatnot, also kick that in high gear. kick that into high gear. You have the most corrupt criminal government on the face of the planet. You have the most corrupt criminal government on the face of the planet. In the chat room, Cheryl, I'm not really sure what you mean by that, but I'll give you a few moments there to clarify exactly what that means. I'll be interested to know what that is. Not really sure where you're going with that, but we'll give you a couple of minutes here to clarify that. You have the most corrupt, criminalized government on the face of the planet. Not China, not Libya, not Brazil, not Argentina. The United States government is the most corrupt, the most rotten to the core excuse for a corrupt criminal regime in the history, probably in the history of the world, but certainly in the world today. When you see something like this occurring, when you see this and you know it is conscious and deliberate, just understand your society has been captured by them. Well, Jason, why? Well, because this serves white supremacy. Please understand that I want everyone in here listening to me to understand this. They put on the ballot, I want to say, everybody's been taking a look on the West Coast, but if you turn your eyes to the East Coast, in North Carolina, I think it is, the governor, Roy, whatever his name is, in North Carolina, why the Republican legislature is trying to make it the law to outlaw sanctuary cities in the state of North Carolina. Don't you know that the governor said that he will veto the bill? Don't you know that he said he will veto it? That's not the feds. That's not some liberal, blue Massachusetts state. He said, nope, we need to, sanctuary cities, we need to have that. Now, here's the thing I have to remind you. Black people get pulled over every day and subjected to asset forfeiture for suspicion of breaking the law. That what you are driving may be proceeds from drug sales, so we're impounding your car, we're taking your money, you're forfeiting your assets, which is unconstitutional as hell, but the white supremacist Supreme Court has upheld this unconstitutional thing. And yet these white men who run these farms, well, they have a right to profit. Actually, no, they don't. If they have a right to profit, then you got a right to profit by selling narcotics. If they have a right to profit, then you have a right to profit, even if it's selling narcotics. And yet, nobody's going around door to door, kicking in those places and rounding these fellas up in handcuffs and forfeiting their assets. I've told you about this for years and years and years and years. This isn't at the federal level, people. This is at the state level. This is in every state, including Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi. You and me can tell them, hey, I know a bunch of these white men y'all need to come arrest for breaking the law. See, when Jared Taylor and Richard Spencer and them talk about, and Ben Shapiro tried to racialize criminal stats, they don't ever mention things like this. They'll mention the black men getting arrested for suspicion of distributing drugs. They won't say a word about the white men who are employing illegal aliens. All of a sudden, they don't count that as a crime. Well, why are they not being arrested, Ben? If they were getting arrested like they should, well, and there's a whole bunch of them out there, and that's just one crime that you're allowed to do. If you're white, you are exempt from the law if you are white. Please understand that. You are exempt from the law if you are white. And you have governors who will stand there in front of the public and defend you.
And deal with it, nigga.
You ain't got enough money in this world as a black person to buy that type of protection. So when we discuss that whiteness is currency, and as a white person, you don't just have $1 million of whiteness, you have a blank check. Because as black people, you can't buy that type of, quote, justice. There's no amount of money you can pay. There's nothing you can buy. There's no amount of popularity. There's nothing you can do that will get you that. Why our black politicians will not even use the word black, but these white folk out here, they have governors, they have mayors, whole governors, presidents who will stand in front of the pulpit, stand in front of the podium and tell everybody here that they are standing up to ignore the law of the land. Do you understand that part? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Roy, whatever the hell his name is, Gavin Newsom, they are literally standing in front of their podiums telling the citizenry of their states and their country, we are not going to enforce the law of the land. Then the black folk are looking around saying, by the way, can we get a little bit of that over here because we still getting wrongfully incarcerated and every damn thing else. There's nothing you can do to give yourself that type of privilege. And it's not accidental. This is a corrupt criminal regime at every level. And they are on code. Jason, what do you mean? I want to ask you all a question here. If you were to ride through Georgia, Kentucky, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Florida, MAGA country. You go anywhere through those places. You tell me, what do you all think would be the response from the MAGA people? Follow me. If you woke up tomorrow morning and they saw dozens, they love doing that on the news, that Sheriff Grady down there in Florida, they love doing that on the news. If you had a whole damn Hollywood squares full of white men being arrested for employing illegals and their property being taken just night after night on the news. They're sitting up there getting frog marched out, getting perp walked out. You're seeing the tow trucks show up and grab their tractors. Don't let it be some brothers operating the tow trucks. Grab their tractors, grab their trucks, grab their cars, put chains on the doors of their businesses, start auctioning off their stuff. What do you think the response would be from the rank and file citizen if they turned on the news and every day that's what they were seeing? A bunch of white men having their money and their assets and their property taken and auctioned off. What do you think the response would be? I'm talking about from the MAGA people who keep complaining about the border. You hear them say a lot of things. What you don't hear them say is mass incarceration of the people doing it. Now, you notice that's never what they say. Not on YouTube, not on Reddit, not on Twitter. In the most acidic, vile places, the Laura Loomers and their ilk, they're not demanding mass incarceration of the white men who employ the illegals. Do you notice that from even the most virulent, dripping white supremacist scum you can find, do you notice you don't hear them say that? Now, when it comes to your black ass, all of a sudden, they learn how to advocate for folk going to prison. All of a sudden. But when it comes to their people, oh, hands off. We need to find another way to deal with this. Well, build a bigger wall. You see how they play games with each other? They're trying to get the upper hand on each other without doing permanent harm. Because mass incarceration does permanent harm. Mass incarceration overturns the status quo. They're not trying to overturn the status quo. They're trying to adjust it slightly. But they're not trying to destroy it. That's the difference. They're not trying to destroy it. They just want to make some adjustments. See, there's the difference that black folk usually don't get. When you see these folks arguing with each other and whatnot, that's really what's going on. They don't ever take the damn gloves off and treat them like they do with us. Now that they don't do. Because you see, what you would do is you'd follow the illegals and wherever they go and get employed or whatever. Folks, let me explain something to y'all. I've been to Vegas, and let me tell you, if you did what you're supposed to do, half them hotels and casinos would not have housekeeping and a bunch of other folks there. You'd have to go and seize their property. You'd have to go and seize property all over the damn place. Now, here's my thing. Oh, they ain't gonna like what I'm gonna say right now. Let me tell y'all something. That would be just damn me fine by me. What? Oh man, y'all don't want to go here because understand something. We talk about nation building. Let me explain to you what nation building is. I got no problem with that whatsoever. Outlaw every single illegal in Las Vegas. And you know what we need to do then? Take their property, seize it, hand it to some black folk. Damn! And then we gonna send out the word and say this is gonna be the first fully owned black operated casino hotel resort. You know, we can go ahead and take the Wynn. We can take the Encore. That's a beautiful property there, isn't it? That's a beautiful development. Could you imagine what we could do if we owned the Wynn or the Encore? All old man Wynn did was make billions of dollars, and I think he lost it to his wife getting divorced, whatever the hell happened there. Could you imagine what would happen if we had something like that already built, up to date, state of the art? We just walk right in, I'll be damned. Let me go ahead and go a little bit further. There's a place, I think, in Chicago, Pookie Crack Cakes. What? We can go down the list. I'm not too thrilled about the name of it there, but business is not booming. Business is exploding. Business is tremendous. Glad to hear that. Now I want to put a bug in your ear for a moment. Everybody here who's ever been to a casino or been to a casino resort, you know that on the ground floor of those casinos and whatnot, you have restaurants, bakeries, stores. I mean, they're like shopping malls. Now imagine if we had the Wynn after they have they forfeited their assets. It gets auctioned off to us for $1. Say hello to your reparations. Pookie Crack Cakes. They make cakes, and they said it's because the way she bakes them, it makes cracks in them so that the icing can go down in it. But you can look it up for yourselves. Pookie Crack Cakes. It's a crazy name, but then again, we got the slutty vegans. So some folks, okay. They took the catchy name thing a bit far, but okay. But my point is, could you imagine if we had something like that in Vegas? Up-to-date, state-of-the-art casino hotel, and on the ground floor, you can put in your Pookie Crack Cakes, you can put in your Sylvia's restaurant, you can put in the Turkey Leg Hut. Could you imagine if you had a resort like that? People would be coming to Las Vegas from around the world and wouldn't be playing one hand of blackjacks, wouldn't be playing one hand of poker, wouldn't be playing one hand of Dutch rummy, whatever it is. They wouldn't be throwing one pair of dice. They'd be showing up just for that. Just for that alone. You'd have more people showing up there. And y'all know food in Vegas is a damn scam. Food in Vegas is a freaking scam. Anybody who's been there knows that. If you've been to one of the little rundown places, whatever. But anybody who's been to one of the nice ones there, it's the food in Vegas is a scam. I'm talking about paying for Vegas at the restaurants and stuff. It's a scam. The prices are outrageous. They have a captive audience. Anybody who's been there knows it's a scam. It really, really is. So imagine we get the joint and then we ain't playing that little old scummy scam stuff. And we're like, the rest of y'all are fighting for casino dollars. We're fighting for an attraction. We're doing something the rest of you cannot do. Right there in the middle of the cave, in the middle of the place. Right there in the middle of it. See, that's the kind of thing that they don't want occurring. That's the kind of thing that they don't want happening. Take a look at how I open your minds to just that one thing alone. Hell no, you can get all, and by the way, we wouldn't have an employment problem. You know why? You got plenty of black folk who work in Vegas. You get some folk who are actually running the places properly, doing what I just said. Man, folks gonna be making money hand over fist. Everybody gonna be eating better. We didn't have any problem in the 70s and 80s when you had the Nicky Barneses and the Frank Lucases, when they was paying people like they were supposed to be paying them and doing like they were supposed to be doing. We didn't have those problems. We didn't have those problems. And let me tell you one more thing. The other problem we wouldn't have is we ain't gonna be working the dog snot out of people neither. What? You see, as black folk here, when we get in charge of stuff, we ain't really running no damn plantations. That's not what we do. It's not that we're lax. White folk want to say that kind of garbage. No, it's just that we ain't running no plantation. We're not here to grab the workers and burn them out and go hire some more folk. No, you find the right crew. See, this is what we understand here. Whether it's black women running a hair salon, black men running a barbershop, a mechanic shop, what you're looking for is the right crew. That's what you're looking for. You want a solid crew. And then from there, you make sure your crew is straight. The crew comes in, they take their job seriously, they on the job every time. You make sure they paid right. You make sure that they got time off so that they don't get burned out, so that they don't lose their edge. You take care of that. The rest of them folk burning their damn people out. We make sure that doesn't happen. Now you've given them a pace that they can continue. Hell, they happy to come back to work because they've got a stake in the job and the business is kind of being run the way they want it run. It's not the business telling them, okay, you're going to crush everything you got for us. You work together on that. They got a pace they can afford. You make sure they got plenty of perks. They're not going nowhere. They're not going anywhere. White businesses today, especially white mega businesses, are set up and engineered specifically for the purposes of churning employees. They only want you to work there for a few years and they want you to leave. They want you off the health insurance. They want you off the benefits package. They want somebody else. That's the reason that happens. Not because it's good business either, by the way. We wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't be running it that way. We've always had a family view of things. We've always had a family view of things. And when it's run correctly and competently, you don't have a megalomaniac at the helm, things work. The real issue is that this is why they try to make sure that we are squeezed out of the economy as much as possible, because we bring a different economic entrepreneurial culture. Our culture is different. Their culture is exploitative. Our culture is nurturing and empowering. They can't wrap their heads around that. Because as Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, in their minds, everything that moves for war, including their businesses. Now their businesses declare war on their own employees. That's why you have to have a rigged system of white supremacy. You have to have one, because if you didn't have a corrupt, criminal, rigged system, you would not be able to keep this thing running. If people actually had a real, true choice, you could not keep this thing running. Not the way it is. It couldn't keep going. Well, where are we going with it, Jason? What do you mean by that? I want y'all to understand something here. I meant what I said before. Your government is like Hollywood. As you all know, Hollywood is a den of dope addicts and sexual degenerates that would make Caligula blush. Jeffrey Epstein was just the one who finally got snitched on. Epstein is not the exception. Epstein is the rule. He was just so flagrant, he tried to turn into a Fortune 500. There's an Epstein on every corner in Los Angeles. Well, guess what? There's an Epstein wannabe on every corner in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. Damn! Your government has been captured by sexual deviants, sexual degenerates, and illegal aliens are all a part of their sexual degenerate fantasy. Let me be clear about what you are going to hear next. There's a reason that New York City, every damn time you turn around, New York City is always at the center of some illegal alien hijinks. And the reason for that is because your politicians in New York City are a bunch of sexual degenerates. And they want to put their hands on as many exotic butt cheeks as they can. And they want a free-flowing, open-air whorehouse. They don't want to be spending airfare going down to Venezuela or the Dominican Republic or whatever. So instead of them leaving, listen to me carefully now, because this is what you have seen happen in New York City. Instead of the deviant politicians leaving the city and going to the Dominican whorehouse, they have let in as many illegals as they can and brought the Dominican whorehouse to them.
And deal with it, nigga.
Don't believe me? Remember the former Attorney General and then Governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer. And what did Eliot Spitzer get chased out of office for doing? Let me think. Can't quite remember. Don't know why I brought up his name if I can't quite remember it though. Oh yes, now I remember. Now I remember. And then the lieutenant governor, the blind fellow, what were they rumors about him? And then Governor Cuomo. We can go down the list, people. That's not an accident. This isn't a coincidence that every time you turn around, you keep seeing the same thing coming out of that place. With them sitting up here bragging about all the, quote, Latinas they got. Did you all ever think that Latinas is a code word? Did you all ever consider that when they keep talking about Latinas and Dominicanas, did you ever think that that's a code word?
Alrighty then.
I just want to sit here and enlighten you tonight. That when you hear them using those words, you need to recognize that's a code word. They know what they're doing. The first thing they did was they let in all them illegals as soon as Governor Abbott and his buses dropped them off in New York. First thing them heifers did was hit the track. That's accidental. They didn't go to McDonald's to get a job. First thing they did was start trying to hustle them draws. First thing they did, okay, I want you to understand something though. That's a culture too. That is a culture also. They know who and what they're bringing over. They want the ones who gonna go for that. They've brought over millions of them knowing that that's gonna be the deal. Remember when I taught you the biggest repository of beta simp cuck bastards in the world are police officers and politicians. There are no alpha males in your political class. It's just a bunch of beta cuck bastards. And this is what they're doing. For my folks who live in Texas, Nevada, Arizona, California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Man, look, folks, if you start naming them, it's just going to keep rolling. What was Arnold Schwarzenegger doing? He couldn't just have the little Latina housekeeper. He couldn't just have that. He had to grab her little potato-built self and bend her over. She couldn't just work in the damn house. It wasn't enough for her to just work there and you keep it pushing. That wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for the governor of California any more than it was enough for the governor of New York. Okay, but listen to me. Do you think he ever would have even had that opportunity if they wasn't allowing as many illegals in as they can? Some of y'all do not understand when you're beta cuck built, these guys are desperate for sexual access. You think the black dudes with their interracial sexual access are bad? You should see these other guys who think they can get away with it. And that brings me to Joe Biden and his degenerate son. Let's be very clear. Ain't no female worth half a damn lick looking for Hunter Biden for anything. What the hell do you need with a degenerate drug addict? Ain't nobody trying to holler at him. But your son doesn't have a lot of options. So you better let in as many illegal alien females as you can, some chicks who just need a place to sleep, because otherwise your son, it doesn't have any options. Oh yeah, neither do you, Joe Biden.
And deal with it, nigga.
By the way, it's not just your son who would be getting universally ignored. By the way, you too. And what do we hear? Well, Joe Biden in 2020, whole bunch of females lined up. You know, he's real touchy-feely. Oh, Joe Biden is real touchy-feely. Kamala Harris, I believe those women. Right up until Joe gripped her butt cheeks. Y'all hoes, shut up. I'm going to the White House. That's the reason. That's the reason why. So when you take a look around you, and you see how these things are going, please understand you are dealing with a white supremacist culture that to its core believes in slavery. But you have to understand that slavery is a power dynamic. So as far as they're concerned, there is no higher level of power than to be able to walk through a city. Donald Trump told you. Why do you think Donald Trump said that? He just said the quiet part out loud. Having the ability to simply walk down the street and grab any female by the drawers. I'm cleaning it up a little bit. But he meant when he said that. There's no higher form of power than to have that ability to be able to just walk down the street and the females, you can do to them whatever you want to. And it's okay. It's cool. It's condoned. Remember what I've always taught you all about power dynamics is not power if you can't abuse it. And well, you can't abuse it if there's nobody to abuse it with. Therefore, get them borders open. After all, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, take a look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, why she advocates for it. And she's sitting up here selling out her fellow Latinas, although we all understand what that is too. Now, don't we? You see, they make distinctions, you can say delineations, between themselves as Latinos. Mexicans do not want to be confused with Cubans, do not want to be confused with Puerto Ricans, do not want to be confused with Dominicans, do not want to be confused with Haitians. And oh yes, by the way, yeah, one of these days you're going to have to just settle on that one. The island of Hispaniola, you can keep telling yourself they don't see themselves as Latinos. All right, keep telling yourself that. So as far as they're concerned, they're selling out other people. But she's perfectly fine to put her fellow Latinas on the track. After all, why she needs folk to vote for her to run for office, don't you understand? Because what would Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez be doing if she wasn't in politics? What would she be doing? I make the joke about OnlyFans. I'm like, in her case, jury's out on that one. I guess if she doesn't talk, because as soon as she starts talking, it's like, oh goodness, the money just dry right up. But she has no problem sitting there advocating for that. Her and a bunch of others. Do y'all realize how wicked and suspect that is? You have a bunch of Latina females advocating for other Latina females to be whoring themselves. Straight up prostitution. Do you realize what kind of mindset you have to do that? What is her attitude toward other people when that she can literally sit up here and advocate for that? Do you realize what we're talking about here? New York City, there's a reason why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing that up because, yes, I think there is something to it to a limited degree. I think there's something to it. Eric Adams has been floating the idea that it's because he was barking back on Biden about all the illegals being dumped on his city and he wasn't getting any financial assistance. That's the reason why Biden sicked the Justice Department on him. By the way, the same U.S. prosecutor that went after Diddy, that's what tells you that it's Biden. That tells you it's Biden. The Biden butt kissers, boy, they were all on Twitter. They were upset as hell. The Biden butt kissers were all on Twitter. They were mad as hell at me. There was this one stupid heifer sitting up here and whatnot. And I just want you to understand, this is what you have to be. You have to be this kind of person to be a Biden supporter. I put up a post where I said, did Biden really send the exact same U.S. attorney after Eric Adams that he sent after Diddy? All in the same month? Right before he leaves office? He ain't even trying to hide it anymore. So, of course, you get some big light-skinned Monique built broad sitting up here. I mean, folks, all I can say is this is the level of intellect that wants to argue with us. This pie-faced heifer sat up here and said, he's a state attorney general. Are you honestly this dumb? People, the Dunning-Kruger effect is in full motion. This woman doesn't know who the feds are. She doesn't know who a U.S. or what a U.S. attorney is. She said and she put it in caps, so this isn't a mistake. She put in caps, state attorney general. First of all, the man's not an attorney general. He is a U.S. attorney. So technically he works under the United States Attorney General, but not the state attorney general. The state attorney general in New York is one scumbag Letitia James. That's the state attorney general. This woman literally, he's a state U.S. attorney. He's a state attorney general. Are you honestly this dumb? I mean, she jumped on my page. I didn't tag her or anything. She came to my page to show complete F's in civics. Flunked civics right out the gate. Now she's floating around here. But that's not the part that I wanted you all to see. I wanted you all to see this other part here. This was the first comment that came in. That's why I'm showing they stuff so y'all can go look on their pages. This little guy right here, I'll be damned. He looks like a Negro Alvin and the Chipmunks. What? This guy here, you can go to his Twitter page. Y'all can go see him. I mean, this little nigga looks like Bushwick Bob. Not even Bushwick Bill. Looks like Webster. You know, like he could wear a 3-year-old short set. This little nigga looks like he buys his clothes from, what's that name of that place? Kit and Caboodle? Kids and Caboodle, whatever it is. Whatever that store is they have in the mall and the Galleria and whatnot for the kids. All my folks out there, with all my mommies out there, y'all know which store I'm talking about. If I got the name wrong, I forget the name of it often. No, not Baby Gap. It's like Kids and Caboodles or something like that. No, not Kids R Us. It's something else. It was in the mall. Anyway, you can go look that thing up if I got it wrong. But they sell like kids clothes. That's just all it is kids clothes everywhere. Just kids clothes. This little nigga look like he be buying his tailor-made there. If you go to his page and go take a look at it, he look like he buy all his stuff right there. A grown-ass man looking like he's wearing a damn toddler short set. I was just like, bruh, how the hell did your fingers even reach the damn keyboard? Damn! That's what I'm trying to figure out. How the hell did his fingers reach the keyboard? Trying to call somebody dumb. I think Children's Place. Yeah, Children's Place. This little nigga looks like he gets his clothes on consignment from Children's Place. I'm talking about everything wasn't fitting right. Nothing was fitting right. I hope it wasn't Gymboree. Now that one sounds familiar. I hope that's not Gymboree. You might be correct. Y'all might be correct about Gymboree. They sell little kids' clothes. Anyway, just go to any of them. Any kids' place you want to name that all they sell is little kids' clothes. This nigga right here look like he been shoplifting from them. I mean, it's just weird, man. It was weird to see him. And him, yes, they are. So we the dumb ones. This little stubby arm nigga's talking about, he saw her speaking. Folks, I know I sound like I'm on a tangent right now, but what I'm saying is this is what happened. Simp culture run the nation. Simptation run the nation right now. Everybody's simping their ass off. He saw her sitting there. Never mind the fact that she says she married. I feel sorry for the dumb ADHD, GED dropout nigga married that. But anyway, and this little strawberry shortcake built dude, as soon as she said something, yeah, they sure are dumb. I'm like, okay, he ain't thinking about nothing. Not a thing. She responded, that's scary. She thinks that an attorney, U.S. attorney, and a state attorney general are the same thing. Another fella here, yes. Now, Mario, I'm not sure about. He laughing, but he was one of the first ones, so I think he thought the same damn thing. I kept all their names. All these niggas, I kept their names, so we can sit up there and show that I kept their names. Yes, they are. They is dumb. All right, Raymond, I kept their names. First person with some sense, he said, huh? This is a federal indictment. He was by himself for so damn long. This fella here, believe it. Yes. Now, Jack is me was like, our humble servant is not going to respond. Oh, you wrong. I had a few extra minutes on the weekend. I said, let me make some screenshots because you ain't never going to get to walk away from this. Let me take some screenshots. Let me do that. You want to know the folks who are going to vote for Kamala Harris, the folks who support Joe Biden? That woman talking about she used to be a Republican. You want to know who supports Joe Biden? You want to know who the Kamala Harris people are? You want to know who they are? This is them. This is them here. Now, she took the post down. She tried to stand strong and act like she was going to stand by it. She then took the post down. I told them, oh, by the way, I made screenshots of all y'all's posts. You people are not going to walk this away. I made screenshots of all your posts because I know you all are going to try to run from it. Sure enough, a few hours later, she deleted her post. Too late. Already, I screenshotted it walking in the damn door. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Man, look here. This is what we up against. This is what we're up against. Do you realize how difficult it is to get out reliable information when this is the brick wall of silliness that we run into? Joe Biden, you can take a look at the damn numbers. The man is targeting folk all over the place here because we're the only ones that he is emotionally invested in undermining. I've tried to tell you all this here before. They are emotionally invested in us, in undermining us. Everybody else, you don't have the same historical connection to them that we do. Dominating you is not the goal. It doesn't have that same historical significance to it. Now I want to take this even further. Follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. There is a reason why you are also not going to be able to make very much traction in this regard. Listen to the next words I'm about to tell you all very carefully here. Folks, Kamala Harris was telling the truth.
What?
No, I'm serious. There is a fundamental conflict in white society. Listen to me. There is a fundamental conflict in white society when it comes to this subject of immigration and illegal aliens. When Kamala Harris says we are a nation of immigrants, here's the problem. The problem is, for the folks she talking to, she's right. The Italians, the Irish, the Germans, the British, the French, you name them. The white folk who are MAGA and screaming against the illegals, by the way, if they trace their family history back, it shows somebody getting off of a boat. Now, maybe theirs got off the boat 80 years ago or 150 years ago, but if they trace theirs back, theirs traces back to an immigrant too. That's where the fundamental breakdown and conflict is coming from. These are the conversations that they won't have with us. 'Cause you can check them. You see, we as the foundation, we can check them folk. We are the only non-immigrants. We can check any of them anytime. It's like, no, where your folk come from? I know that you're immigrants because you're white. So who was your ancestor who got off the boat? Who was he? So you see, Joe Biden, Mr. Irish, well, he's an immigrant. He comes from an immigrant family also. So when you start talking about illegal immigrants, why, I want you all to understand the lines of kinship and connection and camaraderie actually go farther than you've given them credit for being. And these connections are real, and you ain't gonna talk them out of it. When they sit there and think long enough, they're like, oh, damn. So I want you to understand what you're really looking at. That's why I submit to you that, it's not really about the illegals thing with Eric Adams. No, it goes further than that because, unfortunately, to their shame, what is it that all of the so-called immigrant groups have had in common? The one thing that they have had in common is their disdain, contempt, and hostility towards us. Now, that's the one thing that all of them have in common. All of them have that one in common. All of them, they might not agree on religion or anything else, but they all agree when it comes to us. And I submit to you that Joe Biden, on his way out the door, is doing the best he can in his capacity while he still has the powers to do so. And yes, I am aware also that this particular U.S. attorney obviously is on their team, which is why they chose him. They're not grabbing anybody by accident. Nobody's being grabbed by accident here, man. They don't grab anyone by accident. If they got you there, they got you there for a reason. People, you don't become a U.S. attorney without the president has to approve that. You don't just hand in an application and become U.S. attorney. No, for those of you who don't know how that process works, in reality, no, the president gets to take a look at that. Just like the federal judges. Remember, the U.S. attorneys are his foot soldiers. The U.S. attorneys are the president's foot soldiers. Please remember, a U.S. attorney could indict a president.
What?
Let me remind you, that doesn't have to come from the attorney general. A U.S. attorney can indict a president. He sure can. So if you're going to nominate these people and install them as U.S. attorneys, you got to know who you putting in there, because one of them now has federal authority. He ain't got to go through your attorney general. He can come after you himself. For those of you who didn't know, that's the way that works. He can put together a case against the president himself. So you better know who it is that you're making U.S. attorneys. You better make sure they're fully vetted. You better make sure they're on the team. You better make sure they're in the tank. Because you could be electing or installing the guy who's going to hand you your indictments. For those of you who did not know, that's the way that works. No, I submit to you that Joe Biden is doing what he has always done. He holds up Ketanji Brown Jackson as if that's some sort of benefit to us. And then on every other conceivable step, he is undermining every step of the way as much as he can. And he's going to take as many targets and get the ball rolling against as many as he can out the door, because remember, in the white supremacist mind, the only real enemy is us. The only real enemy are the descendants of the slaves. That's it. Everybody else is cool. Everybody else can be worked with. Jason, what do you mean? Y'all have heard this. Hell, sometimes you hear from some dumb niggas around here. He say niggas? I so did.
And deal with it, nigga.
Y'all, every time we turn around here, you're always going to run into somebody who tells you that they've been to Asia, They've been to South America. They're always trying to convince us that they get along. The rest of y'all just don't know how to get along with the folks there. I've been here long enough. I know how to kick it with them. That somehow they've unlocked some super secret code that the rest of us just can't figure out. That the rest of us are doing something wrong, but when they go to South America, when they go to Asia, and when they go to China, and when they go to Central America, I get along just fine. Everything go great. Don't you know with these white men it's the same thing? Don't you know it's the same thing? See, they are accustomed to going to these other countries and being treated like gods. Well, why would they have a problem allowing as many illegals over here? They lord over them when they go to their soil, and they'll be lording over them here. They go to these folks' countries and lord over them over there. The relationship is no different once they bring them over here. They're lording over them over here too. Yeah, you got some white folk who are squawking about it, but the bottom line is I meant what I told you all going on 2 decades now, when everyone was asking me then, and I had to put on my social scientist hat and accurately predict where this was going. And I accurately predicted it when I told you all America is gearing up for the South African apartheid strategy. That white people will become a numerical minority, but that is irrelevant because they will be the economic majority. And there's a bunch of places in America and around the world where they do that. Hell, folks, they already do it in black neighborhoods now. They already do it in neighborhoods now. So they're not going to suddenly become uncomfortable with that. They got the hang of it. They got the hang of it. They are comfortable with that. Some of the lower level white folk are not, but the power brokers, they're okay with that. They're all right with it. It's not going to bother them. As a matter of fact, they're gearing up for it. The Michael Bloombergs and the Rupert Murdochs and the Bill Gates, what's the first thing they want to do? Take population numbers down. The reason for that is simply so you cannot be physically overrun. They just want to make sure they will not be physically overrun. But other than that, they'll control everything else. And also, remember the words I've always taught you all of the railroad magnate Jay Gould, remember? Back in the 1800s. He's the one who so infamously said, I can pay half the poor to kill the other half. He figured that out centuries ago. Going on centuries. But they've known that. You can pay half the poor to kill the other half. That's their idea and their mentality about it. And by the way, they have no problem doing so. It's a fiat currency. They'll just make more. And that's where you're at today. So right now, Biden is targeting some people. He's targeting some people because it is necessary to demonstrate to folks who's running this thing. It's necessary to demonstrate to them who's running this thing. Folks are talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I'm like, when you ask about who's next after Diddy, I'm like, Eric Adams, Mayor Cantrell. Eric Adams, Mayor Cantrell. It's like, yeah, we're going to target a couple of places there. You know, there you go. There you go. That's what the future holds. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom for you here. We'll go ahead and post that up in the chat room for you here. Meanwhile, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. My man, Mr. Rich Bird, thank you very much for your support, brother. We appreciate that. Mark B., Harlem King, Chief Rocka, and everybody else here, thank you very much for your support as well. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll take your calls if you want to here and more. This is the Black Channel.
Thornton Financial is here to help. Certified financial planner Jason Thornton specializes in tax and wealth planning. Are you living paycheck to paycheck with no retirement plan? Do you need help with the IRS? Book your free consultation with Thornton Financial today. Budgeting, savings, debt management, and retirement. Even tax debt settlements. Get the advice you need to live your best life. Book your free consultation appointment today. Go to www.thornton-financial.com.
Hi, I'm Mr. B, and I welcome you to visit my website, mrbtheteacher.com. Explore our site for my latest book, my blog, and podcast that are packed with insightful articles, tips, and strategies to help students navigate the educational journey. Need more help? Check out my education consulting and tutoring services for engaging lessons, downloadable resources, and personalized learning plans. Please join us at mrbtheteacher.com today. Thank you all for listening.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. Let me go ahead and post up the link for the Zoom here. And you are welcome to join us. We're talking here in tonight's program about Biden on his way out the door. We started talking about this last week. And we are discussing about how it is that they are targeting people here. This is on their way out the door. Very, very important to do that because that is a white supremacist principle. Please understand that. That's a white supremacist principle. You see, it's part of their code that you're supposed to go out on your shield. Do you get that? It's part of their code that you're supposed to go out on your shield. You're supposed to go out like that. You ain't supposed to get old and whatnot and sit up here and buckle under. You're supposed to find one thing you can take out on your way out the door. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you see these folks. They get old and whatnot. I mean, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are flip sides of the same damn coin. White supremacy never takes a holiday and it never retires.
What?
White supremacy never goes on holiday and white supremacy never retires. It is a lifelong mission. It's everything. It's everything. So when we say it's a religion, that's what we mean. From the cradle to the grave. And so Joe Biden, on his way out the door, he's like, man, let me go grab a couple niggas on my way out. If I got to go, let me grab a couple of niggas on my way out the door. And that's exactly what he's doing. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. All right, let me see. Is this Elijah here on Zoom? If it is, why you have the lights off? I'm about to say, every time we turn around, he's trying to start his OnlyFans.
No, big brother. B1, big brother. No, I'm just telling you.
All right, brother Elijah on Zoom. What's on your mind?
Brother, I was thinking about this. I'm still in shock how Joe Biden won the 2020 election. And he was in fourth place, to my understanding, when he was running. Okay, something went wrong. The pandemic. Trump was looking like he was coasting to a easy re-election. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Is our people really this stupid? I'm not speaking about all of us. I'm just saying, like, the ones out there. Are they that stupid that they would elect a person that will directly incarcerate them?
Sure. Absolutely, because remember, the real issue here is that we've had crises that we responded to, but it's been a while since we actually had an agenda. And
yes, sir.
If you don't have an agenda, then what you end up with is not a class of people or a group of people. You end up with 40 million special interest groups, each voting for their own individual interests. So then it becomes, it's not Joe Biden was the architect of mass incarceration against us. It becomes Joe Biden was the architect of mass incarceration against them. And you sit up here pointing at the folks across the street as if you're not in the crosshairs too. That's been what we have been up against up until now. Because please remember, Joe Biden and Bill Clinton, I mean, they weren't hiding a damn thing.
Yes,
they
sir.
were gleefully enacting those laws, gleefully doing that, and had black folk from the civil rights generation voting for them with big ass smiles on their faces because Bill Clinton was on Arsenio playing the damn saxophone. Well, Joe Biden wasn't on Arsenio, but they were supporting him too and have continued to do so. Here's my thing. I want folks to understand that the civil rights generation, I keep banging this home to y'all, they got what they wanted. They wanted integration, and they got it. Integration is not empowerment, except socially. Dr. Claude Anderson taught us this. He said, black folk have not moved one iota in 150 years, except socially. We have the ability to socialize on a different level. But that's the only thing that's actually changed. In his words, in proportional comparative terms, we haven't moved anywhere. We just have the ability to mingle with a new group of folk. Well, that's not empowerment, but that is what the civil rights generation wanted. That was and is more valuable to them than money. They spent their lives, think about this for a few moments, I have to remind you here, Oprah Winfrey is the quintessential example of the butt-kissing, butt-dancing civil rights generation mammy. She literally, this woman with all the money she had, y'all remember on her show, she literally recreated the opening of the Mary Tyler Moore show only with herself walking down the street. Not Mary Tyler Moore. When she interviewed Mary Tyler Moore, she said, I always wanted to be you. When I saw your show, I loved it. I just fantasized that I was you. Y'all remember she did that over and over again for years and years, saying that she always wanted to be Mary Tyler Moore. Think
Yes,
about
sir.
think about that for a few moments. If you heard her saying that today, what would our response be to her if that was Wendy Williams or if that was whoever, a black female hosting the television show today? If they said those words to you today, our reaction would be radically different than what the civil rights generation did in the 80s when they heard Oprah Winfrey do that. They watched her do it and they sat there and chuckled and jived and laughed and cuckled along with her. Our reaction was radically different. We're way blacker than them. But then again, our goal isn't integration. That was their goal.
Yes, sir.
They grew up watching Woolworths and all these segregated places, and they spent their days and nights praying and wishing, God, will you please let me be able to go shop at the white folks store and the white folks shopping mall?
Yes, sir.
So that I can feel equal. Can I please move in the white folks neighborhood and shop at the white folks store because the white ice is colder, man. And I'm missing out. I'm missing out. And I want you all to understand I'm not exaggerating here. I'm serious.
Yes, sir.
That was their goal. And they got it. That was the social change they wanted. They don't think that any other social change would be substantive. Far as they're concerned, the schools were better back then. The neighborhoods were better back then. They think those were the good old days. I want you to think about that for a moment. We got more self-made black millionaires today, and they're usually young people. The civil rights generation thinks that those were the good old days with them. That was the good old days. And that actually we're at a lesser level of value today. That's what they think. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just naming just that one. Move on over to LGBT. Oh, yes, I have to say it. Move on over to LGBT. You take a look at that one. Once again, another group that is valuing interracial sexual access. They don't care what's happening to the rest of us. Don Lemon, as long as he can find a white man to slave play with, he's straight. He doesn't give a damn what the rest of you ain't got. And he's standing on it.
Yes, sir.
We can go down the list. You take your black feminists. They're not even getting anything. Now, those are the most pathetic ones in the room. They're the most pathetic ones in the room because at least the other folk are getting something. The civil rights generation got something. The LGBT is getting something. The bedwenchers are just doing it for exercise. They're dreaming of zaddy. There'll be one chick who got some sexual deviance somewhere, and then there'll be 15,000 others who are sitting there at home, a good size 20, sitting up here fantasizing and I'm divesting. Baby, you're alone. They're sitting there alone. They're rage tweeting. They're putting up crazy crap on YouTube shorts and talking about they divesting and she's by herself. She's sitting alone talking about I'm divesting. Talking about the relationship she used to have. Talking about I'm divesting. So, like I say, this is what we're up against. That's the bad news. Now, the good news is there is a societal realignment and a massive re-education effort that's going on. But please understand, this goes in two phases. Number one, you have to write off the civil rights generation altogether. That one is particularly frustrating because it's going to take time for their numbers to significantly reduce so that they're no longer the obstacle that they've been. When the next generation comes into place, that's when things change. As we begin to get more in power, now you see the conversation, the stuff the civil rights generation was talking about, and nobody's even talking about it anymore. The politicians keep trying to reference it because they're trying to hold on to those last vestiges of ancient octogenarians out there somewhere, but they're having a hell, all the polls are telling you the same damn thing. They're having a hell of an uphill fight talking to anybody under the age of 50.
Yes, sir.
Now, that's what all their polls are showing them is over the age of 50, you're still rock solid. Once you get to that 50 mark, your appeal falls off a cliff, and none of your shaming tactics and scaring tactics work. 50 years. Oh, you mean anybody who's not the civil rights generation? You mean that? And they're trying like hell in the white supremacist corporate media to not say those words, because once you say that, then you remember, oh, everything ends. The World War II generation, the baby boomers, the civil rights generation. Oh, what's coming next? They don't want that to become the conversation, because the civil rights generation went for the bait and made it very easy to practice white supremacy. We've made it very hard. And it's going to get harder. I'll let you have the last word.
Hey, big brother. I was listening to this, and I want to know your opinion, because I think this is really unfortunate. You know, it's a wake up call. You know, like how you say this is good, but at the same time, it's very unfortunate. And then I noticed they always target the least threatening of them all. They always want to target the FBAs. As much as they're Sambos, they're least threatening. Eric Adams is not a threat. Miss Cantrell is not a threat. Diddy is not a threat. He's a freak, but he's not a threat. And I was wondering, do you think a lot of these brothers and sisters who's getting targeted by the same party that they turned out to be the Democratic mafia, do you think it would be in their best interest to hope Trump wins and possibly Trump would, you know, give him a pardon to help him out, I guess?
Well, Trump could do anything, but I want you to understand something. There's a misnomer in what you just said there. You said that they're not a threat. Yes, they are.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yes, they are. Let me explain to you why.
Yes, sir.
Please remember something. Diddy might not be a threat. Now, what you mean by that is that Diddy does not want to challenge the system.
Yes, sir.
He simply wants to indulge his hedonistic fantasies within the system. Well, yes, the white power structure understands this. Yes, but here's the problem with you, Mr. Diddy. The problem with you is that you empower too many others. And while you have been a reliable lackey, we couldn't help but notice you've had a gang of kids. And while you might not constitute a direct threat, we're not so certain we can guarantee that with your children. I explained this last week when I talked about Diddy.
Yes, sir.
You notice that as generations go on, you can't really make the same assumptions about the next generation that you did about the last one. You can't necessarily do that. So, yes, Diddy might be safe and might not be a threat, but you cannot guarantee that if he passes on what he has, that one of his sons or daughters is not going to become one, and they will not be starting from zero. Please remember, white supremacy believes in targeting your children.
Yes, sir.
To make sure that the next generation, we are going to exclude them from being a threat before it even starts. Black folk let threats get big and metastasize. White supremacy does not do that. They're like, yeah, there are no innocents. You're all niggas. Let me get that bag.
Yes, sir.
So you are allowed to make, quote, some money, yeah, as long as it benefits them. Soon as you start threatening to pass it on, now we got to do something about you. Remember, Michael Jackson was looking at criminal charges decades ago.
Yes, sir.
Not 2024, 1994. We can go down the list. Michael Jackson, NWA, T.I., Diddy, Bill Cosby. You're a black person, got some paper, and you have somebody who can inherit it potentially. Oh, you got to go. Well, Jason, Michael didn't have any direct children who were black. No, he didn't. He had his mama and his dad.
Yes, sir.
And they would have been getting that. So, yeah, we gotta take care of that. We gotta take care of that. So they do not believe in leaving loose ends. Diddy, with that money, listen to me, people. Diddy, with that money, constitutes a loose end. He constitutes a loose end. T.I. is a loose end. I wish nothing negative on him. I gotta call it for what it is. In the chat room, you said Kanye. Don't you understand? They've tried everything they can to criminalize Kanye. It didn't work. But if you think they're done trying, you ain't been paying attention. So they're going to keep at you. You are a loose end. Yeah, Jay-Z and Beyonce, white folk are still angry as hell about Beyonce out there in formation. They're still angry about that. They haven't forgotten she did that. They're like, oh, hell no, that's a big ass loose end. Jay-Z might not be, but his wife is.
Yes, sir.
So they're sitting around having powwows talking about, okay, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about that? So no, Diddy, the rest of them, you constitute a loose end. And somebody somewhere better tie you up. Otherwise, you'll pass it on and we'll be fighting your children.
Yes, sir.
And that, your odds, y'all showing, you all have a troublesome pattern of one of you whooping 1,000 of us. Imagine one of you inheriting that kind of firepower at the age of 20. Your father had to wait till he was in his 50s to get that together. Imagine one of you starting there. Now imagine 1,000 of you starting there. And whereas dad was happy to sit up here and run hose through the house, his son sees it differently. He'd been there and done that. He doesn't get the same thrill out that his father did. Then you have a Kaepernick moment. Now there's the thing that would bother them more. Even though they exaggerate that about Nessa, white folk wanted to put together a narrative that they could demonize Kaepernick with. They try to say that Kaepernick was cool till he met Nessa. As if the man can't think on his damn own.
Yes, sir.
That woman corrupted him. Well, that's what white supremacists want to believe because that's what they can wrap their minds around, and it's a narrative they made up. But it's something that can happen. You'll meet somebody.
And she's not even FBA. She's still a sister, though.
Diddy's sons could meet somebody. His daughters could meet someone. Kanye's kids could meet somebody. And when they do, having access to all that, there's somebody else like, okay, I never met Kanye, but I know Kanye's son. I don't have access to the father's money directly, but I know the kid. Next thing you know, they might start putting thoughts in your head. Next thing you know, maybe we can do a whole lot bigger than Yeezys. Thank you very much for giving us a call. White supremacy believes in snuffing babies in the crib. It lives to do that. That is its time-honored pathology. Okay, let me go ahead and see if I can get SOS, the interpreter here. He is working on getting his audio together. Hoping it works out here. Maybe on the Zimbabwe broadband. Okay, brother, do you have your audio together? Okay, SOS, the interpreter. It looks like he has it on, but I'm not sure he hears anything. It looks like Tom Joyner from the 90s. All right, let me go ahead and put him back in the chat room. I think he's having issues getting that, figuring out this newfangled technology. He's having some issues figuring out that newfangled technology. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Tyler on here. Tyler, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Let's go ahead and unmute. And please make sure you turn your camera on just so we can make sure we don't have any trolling issues here. We just need to make sure that's not a problem. All right, Tyler, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. What's on your mind?
Man, Jason, once again, you're killing it. I just wanted to give a quick comment tonight because your broadcast just has me thinking about it. After we were free from the plantation and we started the next level of the next stage of slavery, they wouldn't let black men hang out in groups of 3 or more. The black network has always been the looming threat in my mind for white America. And I think that this election is really putting our network in danger, because whether or not Kamala Harris wins or loses, I don't know how to trust someone who votes for Kamala Harris after Gavin Newsom has vetoed, returning land in that reparations bill.
Yeah, I discussed that one there too also. Like I say, that a lot of folks who were sitting up, oh, well, we got some of it. That's what the legislative black caucus tried to sell. We got some of those through. I'm sitting here telling y'all, no, it won't be. I said, no, it won't. And sure enough, yeah, even the ones they put there, oh, he vetoed that. So the only good part of that was he had to do his own dirty work, but all hands up, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because as we're moving forward, we're entering what I feel is like the fourth quarter of Black empowerment. It's a very important time, and Kamala Harris has really brought to the surface our weak points, our critical weak points. I don't know how we move forward. I don't know how it's going to look once this election happens. People put their foot down and they make their decision on which side of the fence they're going to be on. And if you voted for Kamala Harris in a time like this, for a woman who said, I'm not going to do anything for you, when she talked about Black men in the National Association of Black Journalists interview, she said, Black men's vote. Any real FBA queen would have said, our men, my group of men. She would have claimed them. She never claims her own men, her own females. She always talks about Black people as an other. I think she's the biggest threat to the network. And I think our network's going to be stronger when we come out of this.
Well, I mean, look, she can't use those words. I mean, you take a look at Doug is her man. I mean, that's her man. So it's just, she has no frame of reference for us. She never has. She was chosen by the Democrats because just like Obama, you get somebody from a non-lineage background who is a puppet. There's the issue. So they have to be those two things. They have to not be from our background. They also have to be a puppet. They have to be both those together, which means they're bought off for something else. Once again, I mean, show me how many black women did Barack Obama date before he met Michelle? Oh, I'm sorry, 0. He only married. The issue for Kamala Harris was she married Doug before she tried to make this White House move. I bet you she wished she could have gotten that one back, but she went ahead and did that because she wasn't sure if she was going to make it in politics. So she just scrambled and said, "Okay, let me take this exotic sex and see if I can make it work somewhere else." And here's the crazy thing. She didn't even want to have kids. Now, think about that for a few moments. She's been raising his kids by another woman. Think that over. They got kids in the house, teenagers. She's been raising them. So that's how much she values it. As far as going to your original question, though, about the Kamala Harris supporters, I know that these things can be difficult. I get it. You got to take the long view. We're not going to fix everything in a 30-second commercial break or 1 year of videos. That's not the way this works. I've been saying this since the beginning. Progress will be glacial, but my job is to make sure we're tracking progress and then to show you all, hey, this is real progress here, and show you the evidence, and hopefully it's convincing to you. And I think so far we've been seeing that there is. Now, here's the next thing I need you to wrap your head around. I don't mean to get all philosophical, but I have to, in the words of Jung, if you, that which is in the subconscious must be brought to the conscious. Otherwise, you will be doing the same thing over and over and call it fate. Yeah. So that's why he said the reason we must understand the subconscious is we got to bring it into the conscious so we can deal with it. Otherwise, the subconscious will be driving the car from the back seat, and you'll have no idea why this keeps happening, because in your conscious mind, you're thinking in a different direction. Yeah, but there's something else steering this. Allowing Kamala Harris to come to the surface also forces everyone with ulterior motives to fly their banners openly.
Yes.
We ain't got to go looking for them. We ain't got to go hunting them down. We don't have to wonder nothing. Brother, they got to pop their heads up now and fly their banners openly. Some of them are cowards and they fly behind their backs. Some of them are big, lesser cowards and they try to do it on the sneak. But the bottom line is you got to rep. You got to. You're not going to be able to hide it. So when you do, now it's been brought out of the subconscious. You see what I mean? Now we can deal with them. Yeah. In the Bill Clinton administration, everybody was wearing the same damn uniform. It was practically impossible to filter them out. Now we actually can. We show them this. She just said what she's not going to do for us. Then you wait for what they said. Remember 4 years ago, brother, it was easy as pie when Joe Biden was running. I sat there and showed you. Jim Crow Joe Biden. I don't know if you were listening 4 years ago when I did my program. Had
was.
some old niggas call up. You heard them, what they said. Well, Jason, them folk needed to get locked up. Brother, that's it right there. There it is. Okay, in the Bill Clinton administration, they never would have said that. When Bill Clinton was in office, they would have hit their damn heads. They never would have said that. Now, they could support him without saying that. You can't support Joe Biden without saying that. And you can't support Kamala Harris without saying it either. We ain't gonna let you. Now you gonna have to represent. You gonna have to show your paperwork. You gonna have to stand on it. This is new. Brother, you didn't see this under Obama was when we just finally got the train moving. We just got it moving under him, and look at all the heinous stuff he had to do for us to get the damn thing moving. Once we get to Hillary Clinton, nobody is doubting that it's moving anymore. We get to Joe Biden, now it's, in the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, there's a revolt in the slave quarters. Here we are with Kamala Harris, and they are saying this is a 50-50 election. She could very easily still lose. And you got some polls saying that she's already behind. That's where we're at today. So what do we do about them, brother? She's the bait. I'm glad for this. I said this 4 years ago, brother. The onus is not on us. The folks who want to support Biden and Harris, they got to show us where that was a good thing. None of them can do it now. You just got Roland Martin saying the same garbage that said 4 years ago. Well, Trump be worse. Nigga, sit your big bowling ball ass down. So this year, brother, we're in a good place because our position is very defensible. We don't have to hide anything. Those folks have to hide. And the problem is there's fewer and fewer of them. The math is against them. What will happen in November, we'll see. If Donald Trump keeps fumbling the damn ball, then, you're going to have that. But you want to know what to do about it, brother? Be glad that everybody got to stand up and represent. Be glad that has to occur. Be glad that this is polarizing.
That's a great word. That's a great word.
There's nobody is undercover anymore. This is polarizing now. Everybody got to squad up. You have to choose a side, and you can't lie and say that you don't know what she's about. You can't lie and do that. So when they say it, brother, what you understand then is thank you for showing your colors. Thank you for flying your banner openly, because you need to know who you can work with and who you can't. You need to know who's on your team and who isn't. Wouldn't it be great if they all had a t-shirt that said, I'm a buck dancing coon? Well, brother, they don't have a t-shirt now. No, they got a Twitter handle. Hey, what'd you think of Kamala? She's great. I'm with her. Okay, that's your t-shirt. That's your t-shirt. There it is. Now, brother, it's not hard to find them. And we should be glad for that. Now, here's what I want you to understand, and it's a high-stakes game of poker, and I get it. There's only so much control we have. I will tell you this. Trump wins. Get ready for the silence to be deafening. All the Kamala butt kissers, they're going to get quiet. They're not going to have anything to say. They're going to get real quiet real quick because they're not stand-up people. They're only following her because Nancy Pelosi told them to. They're not people with principles. When she's gone, you know what your mama taught you. Knock the biggest bully out and the rest of them going to run.
Yeah.
I predict that's what you're going to see if that occurs. Even if it doesn't, from here on in, brother, at least now we can separate the real from the phony. And that's something to be glad about. So now you're not wasting time arguing with folks. I don't want you arguing with any of them. I need you to identify who it is and then stop. All we need to know is paperwork check. Oh, your paperwork came back dirty. I see Kamala on your page over there. Oh, your paperwork's dirty. All right. Now you're not wasting time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just finish with this, Jason. The Game of Thrones, you mentioned that a couple of times and how it's a great show about power dynamics. And I was watching House of Dragon, just the clips, because, I like dragons and stuff. And, watching them burn stuff. But then stuff stops making sense. So you watch the episode before, and then you watch the episode before. Found myself in our fifth season, and that's when it hit me. That's who they are today. They are those same medieval Europeans. That's the same culture that they have today. They've churned the King's Council into the Senate. They've twisted a couple of things, but never forget the first president was the general of the army. It's always been a military democracy, a military, whatever you want to call it.
Or commander in chief. I mean,
yes.
the president is literally the commander in chief. Yes.
Exactly. So I just thank you for shouting out that show. If you have any other shows or recommendations, I'll be on the lookout for I'll be on the list for your broadcast. But I appreciate you, Jason. B1.
B1, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I mean, like I say, look, they're proud of their history. As far as they're concerned, that was a high watermark. I mean, folks, the colonial period is, take a look at the Ron DeSantis and the Nikki Haley's. What did she learn from the East India Company? What did she learn from it? Well, we see what she learned. They consider that period of history to be a high watermark. They're proud of colonialism. They're proud of that. And you're not going to shame them out of it. As far as they're concerned, those were the good old days. They were literally the gods of state. As far as they're concerned, they would give up cell phones, microwaves, automobiles. White society would give all of that up tomorrow morning. The only mechanized invention that they would demand to keep is their guns. That's the only mechanical device that they would demand to keep. If they could send the world back to the pre-industrial era, they would give up all of the industrial mechanisms and creations except one, the gun. Everything else could go, and if they could take the world back to where they were in 1800, they would do it tomorrow without thinking. They would do it tonight without blinking. I can keep my guns? Yes. Give up the cars, give up the cell phones, give up the indoor air conditioning, planes, trains, automobiles. Yeah, okay, yeah. Bye. We can get rid of that. Every time y'all turn around, when they talk about being off the grid, what do you think? What do you think so seductive about that? What's seductive about that is their whiteness isn't challenged there. The superiority of their whiteness is not challenged. That's what's so attractive and seductive and alluring to them about that. Their whiteness would not be challenged by anyone. They run it. And that's just how serious they are about it. They would be thrilled to get rid of the central federal government because whiteness is its government. It's a code. That's why they're not worried about it. Keep that in mind. But in the meantime, Joe Biden is targeting everyone that he can here because he's had an age-old vendetta and he wants to make sure that going out the door, he wants to take as many heads as he can now going out the door. Remember, misery loves company. Misery loves company, and he's going to try to inflict and spread the pain around as much as he can. If he gonna lose, everybody else got to lose. If he's gonna lose, everyone else is gonna lose. Remember, Joe Biden had no intention of stepping down. He was gonna hang tough. If he gonna lose, all of y'all got to lose. And he doesn't have the option of striking out at Nancy Pelosi and them, so he's like, well, let me take my consolation prize. And these won't be the last. He's got over a month in office left. Actually more than that, actually, could remember. You don't get a new president until January, technically speaking. So he's got several more months, people. He doesn't have just one more month. He's got several more months. They are not going to be done by a long shot. So look for more devilment. Before I get too far along here, because I don't want folks to I don't want folks to forget about things in that regard there. I would be remiss if I didn't at least reference in Missouri. Some of y'all have been following that case in Missouri of Marcellus Williams. You know, they executed him, you know, despite the family of the woman in question here calling to spare his life. I want you to understand you're in a system of white supremacy. You're in a race war. I want you to understand that. You are in a race war. It is what it is. The goal is to create an environment that is as favorable to killing black people, dispossessing, everything else down the line. It is essential that you do this because you need every generation to see that you have the power to kill with impunity. That's the point. The whole point of it here is to demonstrate that they have the power to steal, kill, and destroy with impunity. In the chat room, someone has referenced about the Jewish community doesn't have this problem. I would like to remind you of something else, though. The Jewish community sees themselves as, well, at least forwardly presenting, they present as non-white. Now, regardless of what the genetic facts might be, as a community and ethnic group, they see themselves as set aside. I'm bringing this up to tell you that as black folk, when you still have a number of black folk who vote blue, no matter who, and this, that, and the other, you notice your Jewish fellow citizens don't do the same thing. They vote for their agenda. They vote for their agenda. And no one else brings their agenda to them. They come to you with their agenda. No one else brings theirs to them. We are in the process now of conglomerating that amongst ourselves. We are in the process of putting together our agenda that serves our interests and doesn't get spell checked by anybody else. This is new. Politicians are coming to us now and they're scared to death because, oh, this is an agenda they were not counting on, that you actually want something and that you will not fall for trick bag language. This is new. Jewish society has always approached politics in that way, particularly after World War II. We are going to come into power on our own, continuing doing what we're doing now, which is doing that. We set our own agenda. And part of the Jewish agenda has been that you will respect the sanctity of Jewish life, even if there's been a crime committed. Now, that's the one thing right there. They're unapologetic about that. You must respect the sanctity of Jewish life, even if a crime has been committed. The demonization of Jewish people and miscarriages of justice and demonstrating you can kill somebody because you can, that's not what happens. Jason, what about Jeffrey Epstein? That was an inside job. That was an inside job. So just understand when sometimes you got to deal with your own. Every once in a while, somebody who knows too much and they got too big for their britches and you're too much of a loose cannon. Let's go sew that loose end up. But other than that, yeah, you're witnessing the benefits of a solid agenda. And when we have that and do that, we'll have that as well. Need to do a little bit of housekeeping here before I go any further here. 8 a.m. New York City. Tickets are moving fast on that, so you have been warned. That's all I'm going to say about that. You have been warned. Have had a little bit of a dust up about some of the other places here because I want to have all of them on the same date. So may need a little bit of rejiggering to be concerned about that because I want to have the rest of them all coming up in the same date. So that we've been kind of going around and around about that. I'm looking to have, they're telling me we should have it finalized this week. So we better. So that's the next thing I'm working on here now. So I've been hard to work on that. I'm trying to get all of the dates coordinated and get them all organized so that they hit at the same time. Going to be well worth it here. Looking to have everything as far as editing and stuff like that. Like I say, that's why we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here because I got to get back to that. Things are going very well in that regard. Can't wait for you all to see it. This is going to be an event. So be looking for that as well. And don't be surprised if I surprise you. That is all I'm going to say. Don't be surprised if I surprise you. So, blackchannelfilms.com. Tickets are on sale for New York. For the other places there, it's coming. Keep your eyes and ears open. It's coming. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent Black thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check that out. 8ammovie.com, by the way. That's the website for that. I think the link for 8 a.m. is going to be on the website here tonight, so that'll be crossed over for both of them. Can't wait to see that as well. I want to thank everyone who has contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, Cyberdyne, Andrea Roberson, Shawnee, Leviathan. Thank you here to everyone who's contributed for tonight's program. We appreciate that. Thank you to all of you who are tuned in live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future and the future is uncompromising.